sessions. We have one thing that we call the Gons field, or the hypnotist, or these kinds of things. When I go in these kind of trances and channel spirits, for some reason, again, if you want to dialogue this in was interested in paranormal, I never remember them. I don't know why. I can never remember them. We have to record them, and I can play them back, and it's all new to me, and I'm right there, and I'm like, it's weird. You know, to me, I have this gift, and I see weird things, and I still have things that happen to me, and I'm like, that's weird. And because I just don't know ever what's going to happen or what goes down. But moving along a little bit into this thought process, it was about a month or so later I had a run-in with Raphael. Raphael landed in the front yard, not a big boom, none of that. It's like, and I saw him do it. It's like he opened the door and walked through the door and gently shut the door behind him. And then I felt the power after that door shut. And I went, oh, here we go. You know, something's walked through a doorway that's very strong. And he come through. I can't remember what all he said to me. But he was very calm, very collective. And his look was flowing long black hair. And he had blue eyes. And he had a smile on his face the whole time. And he was very kind of slender. The wings were tucked back. Like and it's like he almost wanted to look like a normal man. Instead of all this power and glory with the armor and all this, he wasn't.
I have a question, not really to interrupt you.
Sure.
How tall would you say the angels are?
If I were to guess you, and now for me, I actually saw a glimmer of him with my own eyes. Raphael, if you ask me, is about 5'9", 5'10", about 170, 175 pounds. He looks like the normal, average gentleman size that you would find today in any kind of doctor medicine magazine or anything of that nature. What is interesting about them is that his eyes were like Gabriel's eyes, like looking into deep space. Really strange. And it's just like you took a room full of books of knowledge, right, and you piled them into this guy's eyeballs, and then flip it into some sort of deep, dark abyss with stars and things like this. It's really, really strange. Really, really comforting, too. That's another thing about the energies of, besides how powerful Gabriel was, he was very similar in energy to Raphael is that they were both very, very calm in their energy. I felt very settled, very at peace, you know, after both of them left. More at peace with Raphael because he didn't try to overpower me. You know, he seemed real standoffish, really wanted to talk, and he basically said that the same thing that Gabriel said that I would get from him, is that he said, I'm an angel of message. He said, I'm an angel of peace. He said, I'm also the angel of men. And he said, and you will be surprised how many times, and he said it just like this, you'll be surprised how many times in this world that I have done things for all of you human beings. And most of you don't know it because you're not willing to listen that it was me. He said, and he left me with the standpoint is that he comes to this earth all the time, and he moves around amongst us human beings all the time, and is constantly guiding, wanting people to do better things, and this kind of thing. Raphael.
Oh, okay. And they're both about the same height, sort of.
Gabriel's hard to get a grasp on, and the reason why is it was all in vision, and it was all, I didn't try to take it in, you know, his height and his build. I tell you that Gabriel looked really strong, really good physique rather, and he had a strong neckline to him. If I were to guess, completely guess, you know, 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", looked like the bodybuilder type wearing armor, right? Do what? Oh. We're going to get along with you just fine. Didn't really have much to say other than he said, there'll be another angel that you'll run across soon. No, this was several years ago, but I did have a run into another angel that come to me in vision, and that was it. Didn't walk through a doorway, didn't try to pound energy on me. It was just a vision, and it had come out of nowhere. And I seen this wall, what looked like it was in a shop, and it was full of books. And there was this woman standing there, and I was looking at her back, right? And she was reaching up, like putting a book on the shelf. And I'm like, why am I having this vision? And I thought it may have something to do with some case that we're involved in or something. So I made sure that I focused out on this vision and paid attention to it. And I seemed to be like I was walking in this store. And as I got into the store and made a step or two into the store, this woman puts the book up and turns around and looks at me. And as she turns around, she shifts from a woman into a man. So it goes from female to male as she turned, right? And he looks at me and goes, hi. And I'm like, did you do that? I don't know why I asked that, but that's what I did. I was like, how'd you do that? And he goes, it's quite simple, young man. I'm an angel. And I went, simple enough. What's your name? He goes, I'm the Archangel Uriel. And I said, oh, so where do you rank? He goes, below Raphael. Way above you. I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. And he goes, I'm kind of the, and he just did his hand like that. And the impression that I got from him is, pardon me, but he said the impression that he gave me is he was the smart ass of the bunch, right? And very, very, very laughter-like, very friendly, and said that I have a mission for you. And I said, okay, lay it on me. I need you to come find me. And then, where are you? He goes, now that wouldn't be any fun, now would it? Look around in this room. And I started looking around at the books and all these kinds of things. I'm like, okay. And he said, New Orleans, Louisiana. And the vision went away. We went to New Orleans, and I spent day and a half marching in every single building in that whole city. Mind you, I live 350 miles away from New Orleans. And just how convicted I am about this, I went looking for him. And he's definitely that type. Definitely playing with me, because I went every shop that I could find on the French Quarter. Apparently, it's either not in the French Quarter, or perhaps I'm being too literal about it, right? Because I couldn't find this bookstore. And I thought that'd be cool if we could walk in a bookstore and this chick's putting up books and she turns around and turns into a dude, you know? And I was like, man, if you guys get to witness this, this is gonna be cool. But we didn't find it. And the vision ended at that. That's been about 2.5, 3 years ago. Maybe sooner than that, I don't know. Maybe it was a year ago. But anyway, no more of the angels. I haven't had any run-in with them. Yes, sir?
You know who your guardian angel is?
No. I know what he looks like, but I do not know his name.
Could that have been the same person? The same entity?
No.
It wasn't the same entity?
I've talked to my guardian angel about this, because that crossed my mind. I was like, it's been you all along messing with me. It wasn't really the arcs. And my guardian angel was just like, no, don't put me in that room. I'm not doing that. As in, he had some fear of Gabriel and Raphael, you know? As in, he was like, no, I'm not them, right? That was something for you. I was asked to stand back. And that's when I asked him his name, and I'll tell you why he didn't tell me his name here when I get a little bit further into the speech. So all this really led me to this thought process of why? Why this gift? Why these things I can understand? Why? What is it that God wants from me in all this? He's given this to me, given me responsibility to help, and it comes in these cases from time to time. We do the paranormal thing. We go investigate these places, and we're finding these cases that are really kind of generic for me. The reason is that we go to these cases, people call in a paranormal group, just so happens it's us in this one, and we show up and we ask them, what did you like? And we're like, well, we have these experiences that go in our home. We would like you to come in, take your equipment, and see if you can get whoever this entity is in our home to communicate with us. So the premise is that what they want to know is that they know they have a ghost, but they want proof of it that they can either have for themselves in a recording or video or anything like this for themselves, or maybe they're showing it to their friends, maybe they're passing it around, that kind of thing. But I ask myself, when we run across those a lot, but what are we doing with it? So I had to reevaluate. I took a month or so sitting down and really trying to figure out what it is that I need to be doing here. So I did some more praying. And this is when God laid the heavy load on me that I needed to start. And this is where he wanted me to be the whole time. But I had to have all these experiences of understanding things to get into here. I found that in the time of all these angels, these negative kind of cases that we kind of had going on were angry spirits. You know, murders and these things happen in old buildings. I mean, if a building stands there long enough, someone's going to die in it. And the chances of someone dying an unpleasant death, I mean, how many people in this world really die peacefully, right? It happens, by all means. There have been tons of stories, and my grandmother and my grandfather were both of them. When it comes their time to expire, they accepted it. They accepted it, and both of them said the same thing: I want to go home. My grandmother at her very last end was, I want to go home, and my aunt said to her, and I was not in the room, I was actually 15 miles down the road when it happened, but she said, I want to go home. And she told Granny, she says, Granny, you can't just go home, you're in the hospital. She goes, no, you don't understand, I want to go home. No, I understand what you're saying to me, but you can't go home. And she's like, well, if you'll just let me go home. And the problem with my grandmother is she was 90 at the time, and any kind of pain medications that you would give her would make her hallucinate, and then she wouldn't really talk to you right until the medicine wore off, and then she'd go back to her right mind. She was also advanced Alzheimer's at the time, so you had advanced Alzheimer's, and you had the medication made her loony. So at that point, when she was on medication, she was talking to you, it was probably a good idea to just kind of omit anything that she's saying, right? Because she don't know where she is, and there's no way you're going to figure it out for her, right? And but she said, I want to go home. And she said, you know what? I'll tell you what. If you can get out of this bed and walk out that door, we can go home. She goes, well, I just want to go home right here. She goes, okay, Mama, just go ahead. You can go home. She says, okay. She goes, well, I love you. She goes, I love you too. She goes, well, I'm going to go home. Sleep. You know what I mean? She's just like, go to sleep. You'll be all right. She shut her eyes and the monitors went, bow. She was off just like that. And of course, you know, they tried to run in and stop her, and my aunt stopped it. Grandpa was the same thing. It was want to go home, want to go home. And at the end of it, he asked if he could just take a nap. And she goes, hey, if you want to take a nap? He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm done here. I want to go to sleep. And she goes, by all means, Daddy. And unfortunately for my aunt, she was the one in the room at both deaths. And she's okay with it because of how peaceful they were, right? He just said he wanted to go to sleep. And she says, Daddy, go ahead, go to sleep. He goes, okay, love you, I'm going to sleep now. And he closed his eyes, wham, monitors went off. That's two deaths that I know that were very peaceful. Other than that, what we always find is we go in these old historic buildings that have been standing there for a long time. People die of all kinds of different things. Heart attack, that's not peaceful. You know, all these kinds of different things, you understand what I'm getting at. Some are murders, some have been murders that were covered up. So these negative cases that we were dealing with at the time is angry spirits. Sometimes it's been the victims. Most often it's not the aggressor, it's the victim that's haunting the location, right? And which is a process we still haven't understood entirely because ghosts of transient, they can move from places to places. We found this out, and you guys might get to see a little bit of that here in a little bit. We got a surprise for you guys. They can move and they can go home or come back across the other side, and we're not sure how they travel on across that veil, if you will, the other side, but we've seen them travel from places to places. We have tested. Me and Martin Bravo here have done experiments where you live right outside of Fort Worth, right?
Yeah, in McKinney, Texas.
Okay, he lives in McKinney. I live in Gilmer. We have had ghost box experiments go on at the same time. We call each other, we queue it up. It's like, hey, we're going to run a ghost box. And then he asks questions that I don't know about that involve me, and then I ask questions that he don't know about that involve him, just to see, right? And we get answers going across these ghost boxes that answer our questions. And then we call each other up and correlate these stories back together, and we just leave with more questions. We're like, man, I don't know. We heard the same voices, really, it seemed like, that this woman seemed to be answering his questions and then hauling her little butt all over to my house and then answering my questions and then going back and forth, and how's she traveling that fast, right? I mean, I'm not sure how far it is from McKinney to Gilmer, but it's at least 120 miles that she's traveling like that, right?
Like the Logan Mansion ordeal. That's
really wild, and I'll tell that one here in a minute. It's strange. But the more I tried to understand all this stuff, I was like, God, what it is. And that's when I found out about these negative cases that we had going on were angry spirits, right? And God had something more planned for me. Yeah, it's something more planned for me, and that was to help people that are being hurt by things a lot darker than that, right? So that's where we're saying into, and I won't get too much in this because the simple fact, you go to talking about them, they go to showing up, right? So, but the long story short of that is that we've been dealing with a lot of cases with inhuman negative spirits, and they're just nasty, especially when you get past their trickery, right? Because they're going to try that every time. They'll try their trickery, and back to God, you'd be surprised when you start talking these things in these negative places, over these ghost boxes. We can do live EVP sessions, and these things come across these things, and you ask them what their name is in the name of Jesus Christ with some conviction, how the ghost box starts cussing at you violently. And so that's happened before, and we've dealt with cases where people that are really oppressed by these things, which leads to some advice. Who in this room, raise your hands, know what a Ouija board is? Do not buy one, do not play with one, please, for the love of God, right? Don't know why it is, but I'm going to tell you that almost not 100%, but almost every one of these cases that we have been to that have something very nasty in the room. Now, we're talking about scratching, pushing people down hallways, breaking their furniture, turning it all upside down, rearranging living rooms. Some very, very nasty things that went on in the house. Almost every one of these, the person that has called us played with a Ouija board and talked to some friendly child spirit. And we're trying to figure that out, why they're doing that, right? But shortly after, mayhem starts in the house, right? And for this gift that I've got, this is how I know it's given me by God, because we've been able to, in cases, cast these things out of homes. And I seem to know where they are in the rooms. And I seem to know how they smell, I seem to know how they tick, and I don't know why. And you kind of see that look on my face change because I don't like them, because they do very nasty things to people, and they do things, very nasty things to people that are being affected by them, and they have no idea they're doing it. I can walk in rooms to people that have had little minor hauntings go on, and I walk in a room and I'm like, holy crap, this is not your normal ghost. And this thing's running around in the attic cussing profanities at me. And other things that they do is start cussing at me all my sins in my life. Get to replay them all in my head. And what they try to do is they try to break the investigator. You know, especially us mediums, when we walk in a room with these, and this is why a lot of mediums won't mess with these kinds of cases, because these things are all over you like wild rice immediately. Because they know it, and they know that you can pick them up. And they come at me immediately. And for me, as you can see, I wear a Celtic cross. I went from a person when I was 15, 16 years old that believed in God and loved God, and I knew Christ as my Savior, as now He's my foundation to even live and breathe every day. Because once you go into that thing, and once you start messing with these spirits and try to help those people, anybody ever heard of somebody who's got a crap list with the S word? Right? I move up that list, it seems, every time. And they start affecting my life every day. But we won't go too far into that unless anybody's got any questions about these things. Yes, sir.
How do you protect yourself from the entities affecting you or taking you over?
How do I protect myself?
Yes.
Jesus of Nazareth. You'd be surprised, Jesus Christ's name, how powerful it is, and how powerful it is when your faith is on His side. A lot of that you learn in the Holy Bible. That Jesus Christ, if He said, if anytime you use my name and you believe in me, because in the Bible, if you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the real story that He was trying to tell everybody is just to believe in Him. So I really ever asked anybody to do is to believe in Him and do these fantastic things in the process to show people, man, I'm real, right? When you have that belief that Jesus is in the room with you, whether He really is or not, we have found through experience, when you have that belief that Jesus is in the room with you and you go at that entity, it gets away from you fast and goes to running off into walls and things like that. Protecting yourself is constant prayer. It's constant prayer. It's constantly living a better life. It's constantly doing something better with your life than the normal spoils of life, right? For me, I try to live as humble, as peaceful as I can. I pray probably 3 or 4 times a day now, and some of my prayers just quit real quick, like, hey, you know, I do that sometimes. I found that God is always listening. He's always listening, and He's really wanting us to talk to Him, right? I found that God Himself very rarely answers me. Some angel does, and it's generally my guardian angel. Leads back to why you're talking about the other answer is why the spirit, my spirit guide, my guardian angel, won't give me his name. And he told me that finally when we started dealing with this really dark stuff. He told me why. He says, you know why I won't tell you my name? I was like, you asked me that question for. I've been waiting on you to tell me why. He goes, here's why. Now you're in a position you need to know. He goes, if you know my name, then it knows my name. He goes, and once you know a thing's name, you have control over it in the spirit world. He said, if it knows who I am and what I'm doing and what my name is, it can push me away from you, and I don't want that. So he kind of, I guess, told me that he was doing a little bit over here in the background that I'm not quite knowing about, right? So maybe that calling out in Jesus Christ's name, that's when that angel appears to that thing, right? And goes at him. I'm left in the dark with a lot of that. And with this research and with this dealing with dark spirits, there's a lot I'm left out on. And all I keep getting from my spirit guide and all I keep getting through all those that I've talked to that have done this kind of work before with helping people that are affected by very dark spirits is faith. It's got to be faith-based. You have to believe in something that's not tangible. which is Christ and God and these kinds of things. And you find when you